Nikon issued a development announcement for the Nikon Z9 fast action sports camera. At 20 frames per second, is it fast enough for you? It kind of looks like Nikon's opted to support 8K video at the cost of supporting faster frame rates like the Sony Alpha 1's 30 frames per second. This and more after the intro. Hi, I'm Simon. Thanks for tuning into The Ordinary Filmmaker. Subscribe to get notification of new videos like this one so you don't miss any news, rumors, gear reviews, or tutorials. And to make things just a little bit more exciting, well, I'm giving away a brand new Canon EOS R5 full-frame mirrorless camera to one lucky viewer. Details are in the description down below, or you can watch this video here. But please look at the terms and conditions as there are some age and location restrictions. And now for the news. Nikon issued a development announcement for the Nikon Z9. It's going to have a high-resolution stacked FX sensor with expected resolution of between 45 and 50 megapixels. So you know what that means, 8K. Now I'm going to take you through what we know and augment that with highly reliable leaks, thanks to Nikon rumors. Now Nikon did test a 60 megapixel sensor, but this is a high-speed sports and fast-action camera. I'm willing to bet, and I know I'm not a betting man, but I'm willing to bet that this camera is going to end up with a sensor size of between 45 and 50 megapixels, not the rumored 60 megapixels. Like the Nikon D6 and the Canon 1DX Mark III, the Nikon Z9 will have that integrated vertical grip handle. Now Nikon is aiming for a third quarter 2021 release, but we'll be able to see it at the Tokyo Olympics this summer in Tokyo. This isn't a minor upgrade over the D6. It has some significant improvement in capabilities. Now, for those of you that doubted that Canon was going to release the R1 this year because, well, we got the 1DX Mark III last year, we also got the Nikon D6 announcement last year after the Canon 1DX Mark III, and it also showed up later than the 1DX Mark III. So I'm pretty confident that the Canon R1 will be out this summer. Now, like the Alpha 1 and the Canon R5, the Z9 will support 8K video in all the basic frame rates of 24, 25, and 30 frames per second. And it will be capable of up to 120 frames per second in 4K. No mention of whether it will support DCI as well as UHD, but I'm pretty sure it will support DCI. And this new Z9 camera will have a new X-Speed processor that was designed specifically to support 8K video. The Nikon Z9 is built for speed in stills and video. Oh, and like the Sony did with the A7S III last year, the Z9 is capable of 16-bit RAW output. Now there's no mention of what oversample modes might be available, but I suspect Nikon will closely follow Canon and give customers access to high-detailed 8K oversampled 4K. You know that high-quality mode, the one that overheats on the R5? Yeah, that one. The one I love to shoot with so much. Now let's take a look at the stills capabilities, which is what this camera is really made for. It will be capable of 20 frames per second, which is 10 frames per second slower than the Sony Alpha 1. And it's also the same speed as the Canon 1DX Mark III. Autofocus will be improved with better object detection and much improved subject tracking. It will have an improved noise level and an ISO range of between 64 and 25,600. So nothing to really shout home about there, but it will have improved dynamic range. It will also have a high-resolution blackout-free EVF and come with a new user interface. Well, the EVF won't come with a new user interface, but the overall camera menus and everything is going to look a little bit different. So it looks like everyone's upgrading the menu system. Sony last year with the A7S III, here we go with the Nikon Z9, and it's rumored that the Canon R1's also going to get a new upgraded menu system. Now, as far as ports go, it will have two CF Express Type B slots, support gigabit LAN, have USB-C, Wi-Fi, and GPS. Now, the price of the Nikon Z9? Well, it's going to be between $6,500 and $6,999 and be available for purchase this fall. What do you think? Are you impressed? Now, there's a lot missing from this announcement, and I'm a little bit surprised it's limited to 20 frames per second stills mode. I would have expected that they would push 30 frames per second as Sony did. I wonder if the Canon R1 will also push past 30 frames per second, as I suspect. To be more conservative and stick to 20 frames per second just seems a little bit, well, just a little bit underwhelming. But again, how accurate is it at 20 frames per second? How good is the autofocus, auto exposure, all those things? And that's why when we look at these specs, they themselves don't necessarily jump out at us. Now, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Oh, and one more thing. Which camera do you think is the better fast action sports camera, the Z9 or the Alpha 1 based on what we've heard? And now, Let's go behind the scenes. So the big question I want to ask you is, do you think that this new camera, the Nikon Z9, is going to help Nikon turn things around? Is this a positive looking camera? Do you think this camera is better than the Sony Alpha 1? Do you think it'll beat out the Canon R1? Because Nikon's really had a tough time over it in the last several years, and some of the latest losses have been pretty bad. Yes, Nikon is turning things around, and yes, Nikon's not going anywhere anytime soon, but still, one has to wonder, with every new camera that comes out, an accessory or lens, how do things look? How do things look? What is your gut feeling based on this development announcement by Nikon and these specs? Do you think that this will help Nikon weather the storm? Now, the only thing I was kind of surprised with is 20 frames per second stills. Now, it's still good, but at this level, speed matters. So yes, 20 frames per second matters, but also 20 frames per second where every time it's in focus, where every time the exposure is correct. I mean, that matters to me more. If I can get a camera that can nail it 20 frames every second, the exposure and the focus, well, you know what? That's pretty good. Now, 30 is amazing. It really, really is, especially at 50 megapixels. And you know, yes, I'm referring to the Sony Alpha 1. I really do think that this camera is going to have a 50 megapixel or a 45 megapixel or somewhere in between sensor. I just wonder what Canon's going to do. I wonder if Canon's going to play it safe. I really don't think Canon's going to go conservative this time around. I think they're going to come out hitting hard, and I wouldn't be surprised if Canon hits at 30 frames per second stills mode, whether it's electronic or mechanical. So let me know what you think about this camera and how, if it's changed your outlook at all in Nikon's future. Now, one last thing I do want to tell you about, I'm working on selling my iMac Pro. And this is a base unit level. I think it's $5,000 in the US or $6,200 in Canada, plus taxes. And here where I live in Ontario, that's 13%. Anyhow, I am selling it. So if you live in the Toronto or GTA area, let me know if you're interested in iMac Pro. I'm going to sell it, then I'm going to park my money, and then I'm going to wait patiently for one of those new MacBook Pros this fall. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. Don't forget to subscribe for your chance to win 2 Angelbird 128GB AV Pro MK2 V90 UHS-2 SD cards, as well as a dual SD card reader. Or you could also win a Ulanzi LED light package with accent lights, underwater lights, and various flat panel lights to help you light your subject, or as a great starter kit for your own YouTube channel. I'll be awarding these 2 prize bundles to 2 lucky viewers once the channel reaches 30,000 subscribers. And I'll be offering up other prize bundles all the way up to 100,000 subscribers, at which point I'll be giving away a brand new Canon EOS R5 full-frame mirrorless camera to one lucky viewer. And on that bombshell, thanks so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. We'll see you again soon.